Hello, and welcome back to Animated Literacy. In our last session, we looked at lesson number 2 from the Story, Song, and Action book that introduced Polly Panda along with her complete story and her song and gestures that accompanied the song. In this session, we're going to take a look at ways to adapt animated literacy to different developmental levels of children, to different levels of literacy, to different ages, and to different grade levels. Each of the basic 91 lessons in animated literacy has a review lesson that expands on that lesson and moves into more challenging material. So we're going to take a look at the review lesson for Polly Panda. Before doing that, we're going to look at how the program can also be used with very young children. Our daughter was 1 when I started to formally write the songs and stories for animated literacy, and she loved hearing the songs that go along with the program when she was very young. When she began to talk, she liked to repeat the songs back to us, and so if I sang a phrase from a song, she would go, "Kimmy can do it," and she would sing the phrase back. So if I sang Polly Panda, she'd go, "Kimmy can do it," and she'd go, "Polly Panda," and we have old recordings of her doing that, and the diction was not perfect, but she was approximating the songs and having a great time doing it. So certainly if children can begin to benefit from hearing Dr. Seuss's book Cat in the Hat before birth, they can also benefit from hearing the songs from animated literacy, and in the early stages just moving to the rhythm and the melody of the song, and in later stages trying to repeat the songs. Then as we were traveling and we would camp and go to interpretive centers, she'd go in and she'd see the various animals on display and she'd go, "Oh, there's a rosy raccoon." So she was associating characters and events from animated literacy to characters and events from her real life. Then she moved all the way through all of the different stages of language development through the use of animated literacy, and now she's a speech-language pathologist, and I'm sure those early days with animated literacy and her remembrance of those days played a role in that. So children at very young stages can begin to participate, especially in the songs from the program. If you're using the program at a preschool level, then your primary targets are going to be more at the auditory and tactile and kinesthetic level than they are going to be at the visual letters. So you're much more concerned with listening comprehension as you're reading to children and vocabulary development and the manipulation of sounds. And if the children are ready, you can move on into letters, but you don't need to worry as much about the letters, but you still want to display them. You want children to have magnetic letters and things so that they're seeing those, but they're not the primary emphasis. If you're teaching the program at a kindergarten level, then the basic 91 lessons are probably a very good place for you to start out, and those seem to be appropriate for the kindergarten teachers that are using the program. If you're using the program at a first or second grade level, then you may find the 91 basic lessons appropriate, but you might need to have some ways to expand on those and make them a bit more challenging. So at a kindergarten level, you can go all the way through all of the 91 lesson plans before going into the review lessons. And in my classroom, we went through the review lessons 2 times because there's more information there than you can possibly do in a single setting. If you're doing it in first or second grade, then you may go directly to the review lessons and use activities within the review lessons to supplement the basic lessons. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and start to review some of the material. Certainly, each time we come up, we begin by putting on the recording of "Are You Sleeping, Brother John?" and that tells the children to come and up to the front of the room and to be ready to join in. Then as soon as a number of children have began to gather, we go back and we start to repeat the songs. In our earlier sessions, we were using children's names in the songs. So we want to keep reviewing that and incorporating some of the children's names, but begin to move beyond that. So when we run out of children's names, we start to use the names of characters. So in our last lesson, we did Polly Panda. So her version begins with showing painting. So we would start with, "Are you painting? Are you painting? Polly Panda, Polly Panda. Polly's bells are saying, Polly's bells are saying, ping pong, ping, Ping, pong, ping. So therefore, poly sound, because it's a consonant, we treat it like babbling. So we deleted the d sound at the beginning of ing and ong, replaced it with poly sound, and blended it back together for ping pong. Just like many children change goo goo to boo boo and boo boo to ba ba and ga ga and so forth by manipulating and changing those sounds. So we're replicating that. When we come to a vowel, we simply isolate it. So here's old Joe Crow, and he's rowing his boat home. So pretend to take hold of the oars of your boat, pull back with a great big groan and go, oh! And now when we put his in, we're going to isolate his sound in the last line because vowels can stand alone. So here we are with old Joe Crow. Are you rowing? Are you rowing? Old Joe Crow, old Joe Crow. Joe's bells are saying, Joe's bells are saying, oh, 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 oh. Now I want my children to gradually begin to differentiate between vowel and consonant sounds. And this is critical if they're going to recognize rhymes in words. And one of the defining characteristics of good readers versus poor readers is they both recognize the initial consonant sounds, but it's only your good readers who can recognize the rhymes in words, which plays a role in their developing fluency and instant word recognition. And so to do that, you have to know those vowel sounds and those vowel patterns and pick those out right away. So knowing the difference between a vowel and a consonant is critical to that step. So here's how a simple way that I teach children to differentiate between vowels and consonants. We start with the old song, The Farmer in the Dell. And for The Farmer in the Dell, each of the characters at the beginning of the song gets a partner. So it begins like this. So the farmer in the dell, the farmer in the dell, hi-ho the dairy-o, the farmer in the dell. Now the farmer gets a partner, which is his wife. So it sings, the farmer takes a wife, the farmer takes a wife, hi-ho the dairy-o, the farmer takes a wife, and children can act that out by one being the farmer and one being the wife and taking hands. Then the wife gets a partner. The wife takes a child, the wife takes a child, hi-ho the dairy-o, the wife takes a child. And they go on down the list with each of the new characters selecting a new partner. So the child takes a nurse, the nurse takes a dog, the dog takes a cat, the cat takes a rat, the rat takes the cheese. Now we go over to this size, and the cheese is different from all the rest of the characters because the cheese stands alone, the cheese stands alone, hi-ho the dairy-o, the cheese stands alone. So I tell my children we have two kinds of sounds in our language. We have consonants that are like the farmer and all of these characters because they get a partner. Then we have the cheese, who is all by itself because the cheese stands alone, and our vowels are like the cheese. So now as we're going along with our characters, if they hear ing and ong in the last line, they know that it's a consonant. But if they don't hear ing and ong, they know it's a vowel. So my kids, as I sang that last line, started spontaneously to pump their fist up in the air, and if ing and ong was heard, they'd go consonant. And if there was no ing and ong, they'd go vowel. So let's try that together. Here's Chauncey Chipmunk, and Chauncey Chipmunk likes to make chewy, cheesy chocolate chowder for all of his chipmunk chums. And to do that, he has to chop up the cheddar cheese to put into his chowder. So pretend like you're holding an axe, take it in both hands like this, go diagonally across your body and go ch for Chauncey chopping. And when we come to the last line, we're going to drop the d from ding dong ding and add in Chauncey's sound because Chauncey's sound is a consonant. So here we go. Are you chopping? Are you chopping? Chauncey Chipmunk, Chauncey Chipmunk. Chauncey's bells are saying, Chauncey's bells are saying, ching chong ching, ching chong ching. And all the kids can go, consonant. How do they know? Because there's an ing and an ong there. The sound is not standing alone. So now we can move on to Uncle Upton. And Uncle Upton is kind of a crazy umpire. Instead of standing behind home plate and umpiring the baseball game, he climbs up into his umbrella tree where he hangs upside down and calls the players safe or out. So when we think of Uncle Upton, we point up to him, up over our heads in the umbrella tree, and we go, ah! So his verse is going to sound like this. Are you upside down? Are you upside down? Uncle Upton, Uncle Upton. Uncle's bells are saying, Uncle's bells are saying, uh. And all the kids would go, vowel. How do they know? There's no ing wrong. So it's real simple to start differentiating. Here's Winky Walrus. And Winky Walrus washes his whiskers at the wishing well, and he wishes for wiggly worms. So you can show me washing, or you could show me wishing for Winky Walrus. And so his verse is going to go like this. Are you washing? Or if you want to, you can go, are you washing and wishing? Are you washing and wishing? Winky Walrus, Winky Walrus. Winky's bells are saying, Winky's bells are saying, wing wong wing, wing wong wing. And what do the children yell? Consonant. How do they know? Because we had an ing and an ong. So it's real simple that way to teach children to differentiate between the two. And after a few settings, they'll be doing that on their own. Now we're going to do a little bit of review of Polly Panda. We have a set of sequence cards for each of our characters. And because our characters have complete stories with all of the 5 elements of storytelling, they can be used for retelling. And retelling has been shown to be one of the best ways to test and to develop listening comprehension. So the sequence cards can really help in that process. So here we can start to retell the story together. If I point to the picture on the first sequence card and ask the children, tell me what's happening here. Oh, Polly Panda is parachuting. Well, where is she parachuting to? Oh, to Penelope's prim and proper preschool. Well, why is she using a parachute to get to the school? Well, because there's no place for the plane to land. Why did she go there in an airplane? Well, because driving a car or riding a bicycle or walking was too slow and school would have been over by the time she got there. What's happening in our second card? Here's Polly Panda, and what's she doing? She's painting. And what is she painting on? She's painting on paper. What's going to happen to those paper paintings that Polly Panda paints? The parents are going to purchase them with pennies apiece from their piggy banks. Now what's changed in the next picture? Polly is still painting, but there's no more paper. What happened? Oh, Polly ran out of paper. So where did she get things to paint on? Well, the parents started bringing her toys and objects to paint her pretty pictures on. Well, now she's still painting, but she's not painting a picture. What's happening here? Oh, she's painting her special pink or purple pea. Why did she stop painting pictures and start painting her letter? Well, because she couldn't paint fast enough to please all the parents. Where did she learn that she could sign an autograph with her special pea instead? Well, she went to the baseball game and she saw the players autographing the things that people brought to them by writing their name, and so now she paints a special P on all the things, and everybody's pleased to get their special P. So then you can take and you can mix the cards all up and have the children sort the cards, put them back into the correct order, and use them to help in their retelling. So after we've done a bit of work with that, we move on to where the children tell me about Polly Panda's story. So here you might have the children meet with a partner to retell Polly Panda's story, or you could have the children answer questions about Polly Panda. And here's what the children told me about Polly Panda's story. One child says Polly Panda paints pretty pictures, and so I wrote that on my chart. Another says Polly went to the preschool, and so I write that on my chart. Another says Polly Panda went to the baseball game, and I write that on my chart. And you saw in the last lesson where my children were simply drawing pictures at the beginning of the school year, and I was taking their dictation, and I was writing a sentence, and then they were reading it back to me. Well, now the children have learned enough sounds that they can simply begin to look up at the board, locate the character that represents that sound, and know how to spell it. So we can go into more advanced writing. We can also begin to fade the character away, and now we can start to focus on actually tracking and reading the words rather than simply gesturing and singing the song. So this is a page that is duplicated from the book of songs and stories to read, and it has nice large print for the children. So I pass out a page like this to each child, and I ask the children to place their finger on top of Polly Panda's name, just like I'm doing, and then sing the words back to me. So I'll sing a phrase, have them sing the phrase, just like we did when we were gesturing it, only now we're focusing on the words. So sing this back to me. Polly Panda Polly Panda, painting purple peas, painting purple peas. Polly paints her purple peas, Polly paints her purple peas on pants and pizza pans. So we'd go all the way through the song. Then after we've gone through the song, I'll turn on the tape recording of Polly Panda's song, and I'll ask the children to see if they can keep up with the tape recording and point to all of the correct words as they sing along. So here's what that would sound like.
Polly Panda, painting purple peas. Polly paints her purple peas on pants and pizza pans.
So now, as the children are doing that, I'm walking around the room to see how successful they are. Polly Panda and all of the character songs are recorded slowly enough, and there's few enough words that the children can do this activity from memory rather than actually having to read the words. But they're learning how print moves from left to right and the correspondence and the rhythm and the melody as they're doing that. So once the children have demonstrated that they're able to keep up, then I'll take those pages out of the book of songs and stories to read, and I'll make a book enough copies for each child in the classroom. And so now again, fluency comes from rereading familiar material. So now I can have a period each day where I just tell the children what page to open to or which character to open to, and then I turn on the recording and I walk around to watch to see how the children are tracking and how accurately they're able to do that. And we may do 4 or 5 songs and then move on to the next activity. So now as the children are learning all of those sounds and those characters, they're all up on the wall so the child can hear the sound that they want to write on their paper, locate the character, and then they can choose a way to write that character sound. And we talked about Shakespearean spelling, that they don't have to spell it the way the dictionary did. They simply need to be able to spell all of the sounds that are in their word the way Shakespeare did back 400 years ago. So now they're given a writing assignment about Polly Panda, and I have the chart up that we've constructed so they can use that chart to help them with their assignment. And so on one side of their paper they were asked to tell me about Polly Panda. And so here the child has written, Polly Panda likes to go to school, and you can see she's moving away from copying. That word's probably up on the chart, so she could have copied it, but as soon as children have enough skills, they choose not to copy. And so she has written school, S-K-O-O-W-L-L, and if you sound it out carefully, you can hear all of those sounds in there. Then on the other side of their page, they're asked to either tell me how they are like Polly Panda or how they are not like Polly Panda. So this is the same child, and on the other side of her paper, she writes, I am like Polly. Now here she's looked up at the board, and she can see that one way to spell Ike's sound is I-E, and so she chose that way, and she spelled because the way she hears it, and pink the way she hears it. She writes, I am like Polly because I like pink and purple, and my friend Alex is with me. And here's another child writing how she is like Polly Panda. So she writes on her page, I like to paint a beautiful picture for my mom, and she will like it. And so even though there's not conventional spelling there, you can make out all of those words. So now as the children are going along, they've been completing our puzzle pages, starting with a simple high-frequency word puzzle, the pup is up, and then moving to longer high-frequency word puzzles. And then they've been doing puzzles for the pattern songs. And now when we go back through the lesson plans a third time, so we went through the basic lesson plan, then we went through the review lesson once, now we're going through the review lesson a second time, we go to the more advanced areas of the review lesson. And each review lesson provides a puzzle for the character songs, and the character songs are difficult to put together because almost every word starts with the same sound. So if the kids are used to looking at beginning sounds and guessing, that's no longer going to work for them here, and it doesn't work for good readers after 4th grade. So now the child has to cut out all of those puzzle pieces, put them back in the correct order, and they will be looking at those words many times to do that. So I showed this picture a little earlier of how a child has completed Baby Barnaby's puzzle, and then they've chosen a topic to write about Baby Barnaby. And each time the characters are introduced, We're reading a combination of both expository and fiction text about that, and so the children have heard many facts that they can begin to now give me back when they're writing. And so here, the child has written, bumblebees can sting you, and some people are allergic to bumblebee stings. Bees bother you because bees sting because you are bother them, and bees die when they sting people. And you can see now, because she has seen those words so many times in order to be able to construct those puzzles and read the pattern songs, that she's beginning to develop a visual image of how the dictionary spells the word. And nearly all of her words are spelled conventionally, except for the word allergic, where she's probably never seen that before, so she goes back to Shakespearean spelling. At the back of the book of songs and stories to read, there is a page for each one of the character stories. And so on this side of the page is the complete character story. And so as children are getting towards the end of first grade and the beginning of second grade, they may start out with reading the character story instead of having the character story told or read to them. So here they can read the entire story of the character, and then there are two sets of questions for them. The first set of questions they answer with words that include the character sound. So here the questions read like this: where did Polly Panda paint? And now, depending on the level of the students, they may answer with a simple 1 or 2 word answer at preschool, or Polly Panda, or they can answer with a complete sentence if they're up to that level. Polly Panda painted pictures at Penelope's Prim and Proper Preschool, if they want to go to a real long sentence. How did Polly Panda get to preschool? In an airplane with a parachute, or Polly Panda came to school in an airplane and a parachute, if you're using a complete sentence. What did the parents spend to buy Polly's pictures? Pennies. What did the parents bring for Polly to paint? Prickly porcupines, toy puppies, toy poodles, toy pigs, and all the different kinds of things that she brought. Then the second set of questions, if you are doing this at a preschool or kindergarten level, you may be asking both sets orally. And here they can start to write, and you can use the second set of questions before introducing a character to begin to access prior knowledge. So here, if you're doing it in writing, tell or write about your favorite thing to do in school. Tell or write about a special place you like to go with your family or friends. Tell or write about something special that you have done to please someone. So this gives you some idea of the broad range of material and how you can adapt this to fit the needs of your specific classroom. We've even had some classrooms where teachers are still teaching in a one-room environment where they may have children at many different grade levels all in the same classroom, and this works really well because children at different grade levels and ability and developmental levels can still participate in the same lesson but participate in different ways depending on their level. So thank you very much for joining me, and in our next session we're going to be introducing a new character with Uncle Upton.